You guys ready for this? Hey everybody, welcome to NewWayStories. I forgot the name of the podcast for a second. NewWayStories podcast. My name is Jesse. I am your host. The person giving us the background music is Darius. We call him old background music, Darius. And Ben, who's sitting there silently, not what's the word that I'm looking at? Boy, it's early. Inputting, not contributing.
Contributing.
Guys, let's just do this start. Can we start the podcast over?
Nope. Keep it going.
We can't. Okay.
Too late.
Without contributing anything, including good ideas. Ben, actually, this whole podcast is based off of his ideas. So we're going to get into it. Hey, I'm excited that you're here. We had a week hiatus.
Yep.
And the people revolted in the streets.
Yep.
They said, "Where's
Don't
the New
bring it
Way
back."
Stories pod?" There was much rejoicing. So we're back.
Found out we were only on a hiatus, and then they revolted, and they said, "No, it needs to end."
We're back. We are not going to let people keep us down. And we're recording in a new location. We're here at Northtown Coffee House, Yakima's Coffee Shop, paying big bucks to be the sponsor of this podcast. Great coffee, great people.
Did you mean to go into a Trump there?
No, that's
When you're here, your family.
if you're here, your
Great
family.
coffee, great people.
Great breadsticks. Northtown Coffee House. So,
If you're
and
in
it's
Northtown Coffee
May.
House, don't forget to try the fettuccine Alfredo. It's delish.
It's May the 4th, as in May the 4th be with you. Star Wars.
Oh my effing G.
I've never
We're
realized.
making a blue milk latte today at
that's
Northtown
sick.
Coffee House.
That's
Because
really cool.
it's Star Wars Day. May the Force be with you.
What does the blue milk have to do with?
That was what my social media guy asked me. He goes, "So what's the blue milk thing?" It's just Star Wars. I don't know if I said, "Hey, in the caption, you need to write like Yakima coffee drinker or patron says, 'I love you, Northtown Coffee House.'" And then Northtown Coffee House says, I know. And he goes, "Oh, is that's like a Star Wars thing?" I was like,
Is that a Star Wars?
It should have been, "My friend doesn't like you. I don't like you
I don't
either."
like you. I love it in Blue Harvest. He's like, "That's not fair. You don't even know him." He goes, "That's a good point." So we're going to talk, and it's also Free Comic Book Day. First Saturday in May is always Free Comic Book Day. So we're going to start talking free comics, and then we're going to talk about does success mean quality?
Yep.
And I know
Question.
for those of you who loved the Marvel, the marathon of Marvel,
Yeah.
thanks for supporting us, hanging in there with us. For those of you who are like, thank God the Marvel trend is over. I don't know if you're talking about. You're wrong. They're still gonna push through. We're only gonna talk about comic books briefly. I did laugh. I was like making fun of people and fantasy authors and 3-hour movies, and I'm like, have some self-restraint, guys. Like, it's just self-indulgent at this point. And I go, we probably need 4 hours to talk about the best Marvel movie. Is that right?
Oh my gosh.
Dude, okay, speaking of long movies, Fall Guy with the Gaz
Did you
and
watch
Emily
it?
Blunt. I haven't watched it yet. I really want to watch it.
should watch
But
it.
it's
See it so
2
bad.
hours and 20 minutes.
Whoa, that's surprising.
This is like
That's a great
romantic
length for a movie.
comedy.
I don't know.
Jesse, you
It's
need
just-
to cool you need to act like a hot tub that's out of commission and cool your freaking jets.
It's this movie calls for an hour 45.
Oh, yeah. Okay, usually I'm on board. No, I feel like this is pretty consistent. Like, Fall Guy isn't a universe I need to fall into. It's just like a fun, it's a fun rom-com.
The movie's probably going to be great. I mean, it looks so funny.
But is it going to drag because it's 2 hours, 20 minutes?
I don't know.
It could drag.
I
can't wait. I'll tell you after I see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's an incredible movie and you're like, I want another 2 hours and 20 minutes of that. my initial shock factor at like a rom-com sort of setup being that long is brutal.
Do you think Ryan Gosling's coming to like star power? Because it feels like people are seeing this movie because of him. So are like movie stars coming back?
I think that movie stars have always been there.
Have they though?
I think so, but definitely not in the way that it was in the 50s, 60s,
80s.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You kind of had, if Arnold was in a movie,
You're seeing
it was gonna be good. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think Gosling and Ryan Reynolds are probably the closest thing to
Movie stars.
You're like, oh, like I'm gonna watch that movie because of them. I think
Emma
they're
Stone.
probably. Yeah. I was gonna say there probably is, but Emma Stone though, and this could be just me. Maybe I just don't have a great pulse on actresses. Oh, we're gonna get a train coming through.
I didn't even think about this.
This is the nice thing about.
This is probably the worst place to record a podcast.
Yeah.
I can't hear it.
Well,
No,
it's not
you
here
will.
yet. You're gonna hear it.
Okay, once the train goes through, say every swear word that's in your brain.
Perfect. So, but do you go and see a movie because Emma Stone is in it, or do you watch an Emma Stone movie and you're like, she's so good?
They're different. They're
You know
different
what I
type
mean?
of movies, though. We should pause because
Yeah.
this thing's about to be super loud.
Oh, it's coming, and it might happen for 5 full minutes.
What I was saying, Emma Stone's movies are different than like when I think of like Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds. It's like action comedy, like fun, blockbuster movies. But Emma Stone is like a real, She makes real movies.
She's an actor, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that I am very. I mean, this is just how I view movies. Kate and I will have this conversation. I'm like, oh, we should go see this movie. She's like, what's it about? I have no idea, but it's directed by this person and it stars this person.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that way. I don't know, like if Emma Stone is in a movie, like I will want to watch it because she's awesome. But I don't know if the rest of the world thinks that way.
Only
Yeah,
film snobs.
That's a whole other, I don't know. I don't
It's a
have
whole
any
other
thoughts on it.
podcast.
Yes, and we
It
should.
is. I am
Free-
really excited to watch Fall Guy.
Free Comic Book Day.
Yep.
It's happening today.
Wow.
What, Ben? How many comic books do you think you have? If you had to ballpark it.
Like just single issues,
Yeah.
like maybe 300.
Okay. That's pretty good. Darius gave away all of his comic books.
Yeah, I
To
kept
me.
a handful.
You kept a
of
handful.
them.
Oh, you held out on me. Which
Yeah,
one's
well, I think I did. I think that I kept some ones that were like sentimental to me.
nice.
Did I give you that blue Converse shoebox?
I can't remember.
I think I kept like one singular box that was sentimental to me. But yeah, somebody gave me, it was nuts. Somebody gave me like 300 or 400 comics because like a bookstore or a library had shut down.
Yeah.
And they just gave me 4 boxes of random comics.
I was gonna say that makes sense because I was like going through them and I actually put some of them in a yard sale like last year because they were so random.
stupid.
And so I just like bundled like 20 comics together and I was like, oh, $10 for all the
Yeah.
vintage comic books. I had a guy eat it up. But
He got a bunch of the dumbest
yeah, dude.
issues.
But
of
I was
X-Force
flipping through them and I
and-
was like, why does Darius have all of these comic books? These are so weird. That makes so
they
much
got-
more sense.
Yeah. I've never been, to be honest with you, I don't love comics as a medium of storytelling because the stories never end.
Right. Yeah, totally. Which
And
is
there's so many filler issues. Most of the issues of comics are filler, and I don't enjoy that.
which is why I kind of have shifted to buying mostly graphic novels
Trades, yeah.
now, right?
Trade
you
books.
you
Yeah.
get the full storyline and you don't there were a couple runs that it's really cool, but you have to like you got to be on it. You're
Yeah,
buying, you're buying 6 different issues a week and it's through all these different all the different detective comics and Batman and Robin and Catwoman. And you're like,
If you want to see
Oh,
this,
and
where
if
this
you're
character
buying
came
them
from,
new-
you got to read this single issue of Justice League and this one.
Exactly.
yeah.
If you're buying them new, and you follow 4 comic books, you're spending like $30 a month on comics.
Maybe more. I mean, man, comics have been, they're up $3.99 to
$6 an issue.
$5.99.
Yeah,
an
some of the
issue,
ones
yeah.
that we were getting for a while were $5.99.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I would have to get, just because I'm a nerd, I would get all the variant covers too.
Yeah,
So I
Ben's
was
into
like,
the variant.
I was like,
That's
oh,
cool.
look at this art.
So
That is cool.
Darius, you're like into the comic book art. That was, or at least like when we were growing
was
up,
when I
that
was
was
younger,
like
yeah.
your thing. You had like books and videos like how to draw the Marvel way. And
Yeah, dude.
and you can draw. You could draw somewhat okay.
I could draw some comics. I'm not like yes, when I was a kid, I was really into drawing comics.
And I was terrible, really, really terrible at drawing. I don't
Which is funny
understand.
because you were always like writing books, and I was like, I wish I could write books.
We needed to team up.
That would have been the funniest, most useless team up ever. My super,
Much like this
super
podcast.
pedestrian drawings.
You were mentioning, sorry, the because you said you like just getting the trades. I even just like just one-off stories. Like this author,
Yeah.
we gave him 6 issues to write a story, and that's
Yeah.
it. And you don't need anything else. I read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and it's one of my favorite like comics I've read in the past few years.
Really?
And
That's
it's
really
just
cool.
it's so self-contained. It's just
Yeah.
I wanted more, but it's not like the story like needed to keep going. Like there was an end. But
Yeah,
I really enjoyed
I
it.
do like that. I wish I have quite a bit of comic books. Should count them. I should count them out. I think I'm probably getting close to 1,000.
That's crazy.
Maybe, but when I was younger, I liked the idea of collecting. Right, I'm like, oh, I got to get all of the comic books. I loved the idea of having a full run, and there are ones that I'm still looking for. Like any sort of early 90s Todd McFarlane stuff
Good luck.
of the Spider-Man. I know they're so expensive now, but I'm like, I would love to just have every single one of these comic
yeah,
books.
they're so cool.
They're so sick.
yeah.
Spider-Man has never, ever, and will probably never again look cooler.
No,
Yeah,
than Todd
it's
McFarlane.
so
and
good.
you recognize it so quickly. You
Yeah.
know how he draws. That,
Yeah.
and it's,
Yeah.
Dude,
I
even
can
as,
see it in my head.
Even as a teenager, you're just like flipping through and you don't even need to like look at the date or the issue title. You're just like, oh, that's a McFarlane. Oh, that's a McFarlane.
Dude, he would just do stuff that doesn't even make sense, but then once you see it, you're like, why did they not do this before?
Yeah.
Like the giant eyes, right?
Yeah.
Like in some of his drawings, Spider-Man's eyes, the eyes on his mask, are almost the full mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you see it, you're like, holy crap, that's obviously the way they always should have been.
Yeah.
But it doesn't even make sense that he did it. It's like, why would his eyes be that big? And it's so sick. That's what's so cool about it to me.
There's a run of, I think it's about the Sinister Six, and Todd McFarlane takes the first 5 issues, and I think he then transitions out of Marvel. And so I think a guy named Eric Larson draws the last issue, and I think I have all of them, but you're like, so sick, so sick, so sick. Last issue, you go, what happened here? What's what changed? You go, oh, well, this is not Todd McFarlane anymore.
That's super frustrating.
But I kind of have entered this. I love superheroes. Obviously, we just spent 4 hours talking about our favorite Marvel movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of am now just like, I want to do the things that I am nerdy about. Like when I go to Comic-Con or D2E2 in Chicago, I just kind of want to find the comic books that I'm super interested in. And so now I find Planet of the Apes comic books and Predator comic books. And it's these Predator books, like you were saying, Ben, they're 4 issues, right? It's Predator, Last Hunt, 1 through 4. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I just want those 4.
Just send me those 4.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's not going to be worth any money. Like, it's not.
No.
I'm not going to pay for my future kids' college with these, but they're just fun, and I like looking at the art. I like reading, kind of cheesy storylines. I don't know, man. Comic books.
I think I'm gonna read because I don't know if I mentioned this on Christmas. I got 3 like volumes of Grant Morrison's Batman run.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm hoping to every month this summer. June I'll read the first one, July I'll read the second one, and then August I'll read
Is
the last
it
one.
Batman Incorporated, or are you doing from Batman and Robin through Batman Incorporated?
It's everything. It's every like from there, even the Justice League run that he did. If it has Batman and Grant Morrison wrote it, it's in there.
He's amongst my favorite writers for sure.
I don't even know, when did he start writing? Like when is this run from?
Well, this run he started back in like 2012 with the run that I really enjoyed, the Batman and Robin that I really enjoyed.
That's cool.
Or maybe it even was before that. Was Batman Incorporated 2012?
I had this. There was like a Reddit thing. Let me.
So
find
it was it. Batman Incorporated is this new series. It came out. I think it came out in 2012.
Yeah.
But Wayne Enterprises is like, we sponsor Batman.
Oh, that's funny.
And so, yeah. So, but that was like what he focused on for quite a while. And I think right before that was Batman and Robin, which was when Damian was Robin and, oh boy, now I'm getting it all convoluted. R.I.P.
much have they
Batman.
aged?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
he's involved in that as well.
How much have they aged up Damian in the comics?
Still 9 years old.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh man, it would just be so great for them to move Damian eventually up to
Move him along.
at least take one story
Yeah.
and take one thread where Damian becomes an adult
I think that's
or Damian becomes Batman.
That's the interesting thing with comics is that you have like, you're like, all right, we can age Batman up 10 years. Like Batman at this point is a seasoned veteran, but you can't go any more, right? Because then you have Batman Beyond where he's an old person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real quick. So it says his run started in 2006 technically because he had some like pre-reading kind of prequels, prologues. Like there's a Batman and Talia one, Black Case book. But then it really started Batman and Son in 2006 with Batman RIP, Final Crisis. And then it goes into 2009, 2011. That's Batman and Robin. And then
That's my favorite.
2011, 2013, that's Batman Incorporated.
And that Batman and Robin is Damian is Robin.
Yeah.
Damien.
Yes.
Yes.
For those of you listening, Damian Wayne is Batman's actual
Son.
blood son.
Yeah.
Yes.
With Ra's al Ghul's daughter.
Ryu.
He likes to murder. He likes
That's
to
what-
murder people.
that's
He's
what he
a
did.
child that likes to murder people.
That's my favorite. That I have a stand-up
Batman
bit.
says no. No murder people.
I have a
And
stand-up
he
bit
squirts him with a
on
squirt
that.
bottle.
Yeah.
What's your bit?
The bit is that there's a scene where it looks like Damien has killed somebody, and Batman goes, "Robin, we don't kill people. That's our one rule." End of scene. Like, really, Batman? A stern talking to for murder? That's like,
Robin.
and so I
Count to 3.
right. So that's,
I
come
blew
on,
the rest of
he
it.
burned it. So it's, that I feel like Batman has gone soft now that he's a dad. Right, and I'm nervous that that's going to bleed over into his crime fighting. So Two-Face has a bus full of hostages. Dark Knight swoops down. He goes, "Harvey, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Put the gun down. 1. Don't make me get to 3." So
That's a great bit.
anyway,
At some point, we should talk about Zack Snyder's awful takes on Batman. Have you guys seen that?
no.
No, like
It's-
things that he says about Batman.
He was on Joe Rogan and he was talking about like Batman's one rule, and he's like, "Well, it's kind of a stupid rule because it's like you guys I hear that all the time, and when I hear that, I just want to make Batman kill." And it's like you guys they say well, you shouldn't write a scene where he does that. It's like, well, you guys are just protecting your god. I want to be on the edge of things, blah blah blah. And it's just the
I mean,
worst.
on the edge of things, Frank Miller did it back in the 80s. Like, you're not on the edge of things. You're 50 years too late.
But Batman never killed in that.
In The Dark Knight, he did. Used
Dark Knight
guns and
Returns?
he shot people in the head.
Did he? I know he had a gun, but I think it was.
Dude, Frank Miller's Batman is dark.
Okay. Real quick. Batman did not kill in Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. There's a scene where he encounters some thugs from the mutant gang, and it's unclear what happens at the end of it. But A couple panels later, there's a news report, and it says that Batman's being charged with assault, breaking and entering, and creating a public hazard. It mentioned nothing of murder. Plus, later on, when he does have a gun again, he mentions we're using rubber bullets. So he did not kill anyone. Okay. Either way,
Batman also killed people in the original comics before it became like when it was like Detective Comics featuring Batman.
That's interesting.
He killed a vampire with like a serum, like the vampire was sleeping.
It's a vampire,
and he injected it into him. He also threw a man out of a window to his death.
Hilarious.
But I don't think
these are like in the 30s.
Yeah.
But okay, I guess you could. Is Batman's run rule like crucial for his character? Like, is it like something you can't mess with?
I think the character that you've created today, because the one thing that separates him from
the Joker,
just the bad guys,
criminals,
because he is out breaking laws as a vigilante,
Yes.
right? Like, and he is doing things that he sees fit over the authorities that be. And oftentimes he's correct, and oftentimes he saves the day. But if he were to murder, like, that would push him into, like, I think all great literary characters have a rule that if they break it, it pushes them into something else.
they're not who they are.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think you absolutely have to have that. This is kind of why, and this is like smaller, but in 2004, the Superman Returns movie, they're like, oh, this is like Superman's like bastard child, out of wedlock. And it's just like, well, Superman's supposed to be the purest person possible. Right, yeah. And I know that that's maybe not something that the world views as like something that is pure, but a kid out of wedlock doesn't match Superman's character. So I was just like,
hard. It's hard because like I know it doesn't suit like our modern sensibilities in any way culturally, but the idea even in like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, you're talking about a Superman who then he either grew up in the 50s, 60s, or 70s.
Yeah.
Right? So like in the time he was born, especially the time of like early 2000s, he's born in Kansas to like traditionally American valued parents. The idea is there's no way there's no way Clark Kent would have felt comfortable like sleeping with Lois Lane,
right.
unless they were married.
Unless they put a ring on it.
Which I love.
That's like the general, which I know doesn't sound like modern, but that is, it is. For somebody who grows up with super traditional values in Kansas.
But I also think that separates Superman from Batman. Like, Batman is a billionaire playboy.
He'll sleep with whoever, whoever's in the vicinity.
Because
I dare you. Tell me, dare me to sleep with her. I'll do it.
Yeah, Batman, cool your jet, or Bruce Wayne, cool your jets.
My computer's
need to.
dying. Give me 1 second. I don't know what's happening right now.
Well, while he's fixing that, it is an interesting. So, Free Comic Book Day. I don't think we meant to spend 30 minutes on Free Comic Book Day.
Well, there was like 5 minutes of a train.
That's a good point.
Either way, I think Zack Snyder does not understand Batman, and I don't think he should ever make a Batman or touch a Batman movie ever again.
Well, Ben, I don't think you have to worry about that.
I think the universe has spoken.
I don't think Jimmy Gunn's going to be like, who's really knocked them all out of the park? That Snyder fella.
All right, let's get into quality and success.
Let's do it.
I think that in our darned Western minds.
Pew! Is that what you mean?
Western society, capitalistic mindsets. I think that financial success or commercial success is a very large barometer for is something quality or is something good. Who is Ron Swanson says this is capitalism. It's God's system for finding out who is smart and who is poor. Right? That's like But that's a little bit of our mindset, right? And so if something is commercially successful, I think we tend to say, well, that is quality, because that's why people say it's like social proof on books. It's over 1 million copies sold. You go, well, this must be quality.
Yeah.
Because over 1 million copies are sold, right? Over whatever.
It's not quality. It's just Twilight.
Well, Ben, I didn't know that we were going to be shooting shots so quickly. But does that mean that it's quality? Does commercial success mean that it's quality? And on the vice versa, if it is not commercially successful, does that mean that it lacks quality?
Okay. Here's my thing about, because you said like when it comes to if it makes a lot of money. I heard this weekend. It's most likely easy accessible, easily attainable, and what's the other word? Just because a lot of people are into it doesn't mean it's good. Like Walmart says a lot of crap, but doesn't mean it's good. It's just easy to get to, very easy to understand. I forget what the 3 things were.
Well, that's like, yeah, if you can get
unoffensive, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like unoffensive. Like it's just like baseline. Everyone can get on board with it.
In like retail, you're like, if you can get on Walmart shelves, then you will sell infinitely more product. And the thing about Walmart products is that they all blow. There's not a good product inside of that store.
But it's cheap and it's easy to get to. It's right there.
It's easy. It's right there, right? You don't really have to seek it out. All of these like clothing stores that are crazy expensive, you like walk into a boutique like store and there's like 5 blazers. You know, you're like, you have not used your space wisely here. But they're like $700 and you're like, oh, well, this...
it must be good.
You only have to sell 5 of them.
Or I was listening to a Jerry Seinfeld thing with a Patagonia, like he has a Patagonia backpack, and he's like, I had this one for a while, and I thought I'll go into Patagonia and get a new backpack, and they go, oh yeah, why do you want a new backpack? He goes, I don't know, I just was wanting a new one. They're like, is there anything wrong with your old Patagonia backpack? He goes, no, not at all. He goes, I mean, I guess we could sell you one if you want, but you don't need a new backpack. That's a great point, because they don't want to sell me a new backpack. They just want to make good products, and you get to have. Sure, you spent $300 on that backpack, but now you get to have that backpack forever.
Yeah. The question is like, my question is, is it made of koala, or are the koalas making the tea?
Darius?
This is quality.
Can I, real quick?
And so I'm wondering, what's in the quality?
Do you want to take this?
No?
Okay.
Go for it. I'm curious at Ben's answer.
Darius? It's one word. There's no koala.
Okay, what's the word?
One word.
Quality.
Quality.
So you're just saying that it's like well-made tea.
Yeah, well-made tea.
From Australia.
Yep.
So the thing that brings this up is not koalas or zebras.
Nope.
But
Both.
maybe, what's a mythical creature that's too good to be true?
A griffin.
Unicorn, griffin, Taylor Swift.
See, okay, this is why there's a bit of a... The reason I brought this up, this idea, and I was trying to avoid it, and I hope it would come up naturally because I don't want to start this heat. This idea got up because I listened to at least 7 or 8 songs of her new album, and it's some of the worst pop music I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, I think that you're coming from a pretty strong place of hate, and it's hard to enjoy
Misogyny?
something. No, it doesn't even have to be misogyny, because I know you enjoy other female artists.
Dude, here's the crazy thing.
But
here's the crazy thing.
If you dislike Taylor Swift and you say, "Oh, I'm going to give this new album a chance," you're probably going to not like it. Like, that's just kind of the baseline.
It's not good pop music. Taylor Swift has created her own genre of music. She still calls it pop music. If you listen to the last 4 albums, including Torture Poets, they've created their own genre of music. It doesn't sound like any other people's music.
But it doesn't sound
interesting.
It doesn't sound interesting at all.
No, I'm saying
still,
it's interesting.
And people still love it. It's still the greatest selling music. Now, you can argue about whether it's quality or not.
Now, I was going to say that. Now, I think that this new album, especially because of what she's created, was not going to commercially fail.
No. She didn't have to. She did the very bare minimum to sell an album.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like her songs, it's every single song is around the same tempo. The melodies don't vary that much. It's all the same. Like she has like one idea of like, I don't know the exact some of the words. I remember hearing them being like, boy, it's the equivalent. The equivalent of like lyrics that are like hurt people, and then you just write a song sort of like you write lyrics sort of
cheesy
similar to
Instagram.
that, like cheesy Instagram posts, and then it's like 3 or 4 minutes of that verse, chorus, bridge, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. The music is not my kind of music. There are some Taylor Swift, like Lover as an album.
Yeah.
It was mostly not produced by Jack Antonoff. I don't think personally, I don't like the way Jack Antonoff writes and produces music. And he writes and produces most of the melodies and stuff that are in Taylor Swift's music now. She used to do more like melody writing when she was younger.
Well,
but
like Jack
and also, okay,
she writes lyrics, and I'm not even like, I can recognize that they are great lyrics because she's just a great lyricist, but also she writes lyrics that connect with her demographic, which is essentially at this point all women of all ages. Yeah. And that is, whether we like it or not, that is actually an impressive thing.
It did start when she was 15, right? That people were like, oh my gosh, they're Taylor Swift haters. And back then it's just like, she's like a 15 or 16-year-old girl writing music for 15 to 16-year-old girls, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that, like, she has very simple
and she
lyrics.
was writing all of her own music.
She was writing all of her own music,
the lyrics,
which is great.
From her first couple albums. I mean, she's written all of her own lyrics, but like, that's crazy to think about a 16-year-old.
But I think that there's something to, they're simplistic, but they still connect with people.
So overly simplistic. Like, I also wanted to say that, like, I don't hate Taylor Swift just to hate Taylor Swift. I recognize.
I know that.
I recognize.
I genuinely hate her.
I recognize that she like over the years she's put the work in and she deserves it. She honestly does. She's written some fabulous pop music.
I actually don't know if I would say she deserves it. I don't think anybody who
maybe the cult like fame feels like no one quite deserves.
My point is that she had a lot of help. Like her parents gave her a lot of help to become a musician. So deserves it is not a term I use for essentially any, like I probably would say it about Eminem. Eminem is somebody who, in my opinion, kind of just raw earned what they got for the most part.
I think you could make the argument, even if she had a lot of help, that she has definitely put in hard work and
I agree.
has managed her career.
Yeah. I would say she's put in just as much hard work as generally any other musician who has attained what she's
I was about to say, this is kind of the tough thing, is that a lot of musicians, a lot of professional artists, not a lot of musicians, are hard workers, right? And like a lot of people who are trying to make it in the entertainment industry, they are hard workers. And commercial success, like there's an intangibility factor.
Absolutely.
That is like, this makes it pop and this does not. Like there are some people, Darius and I listen and he keeps sending me like these kind of poppy, funky bands. They're not commercially successful. They are making a living, but they're not, and they never will be like uber rich or uber famous or whatever. And
they work their, yeah.
That music is so much fun and so like, you're like, man, these people are wickedly talented, but they just like don't, unless something happens that is like intangibility, they get on a soundtrack or something that puts it in front of everybody, like whatever. But that doesn't mean that they're not
Well, also,
quality.
to be honest with you, being like a 5'10", conventionally pretty person, I guess the same thing is true for men. Being an over 6 foot tall, conventionally handsome man, those things also factor in.
It helps.
And like that counts. And you don't earn that.
Which is why Jesse hasn't
pretty.
sold like 1 million copies yet.
I'm trying this whole
What's
new
that?
hair thing, and it's not working. You guys, if you're watching the video, you're like, what is Jesse doing? I'm trying to figure it out. Isn't that what we're all doing? Just trying to figure it out.
I'm not just like trying to be a Taylor Swift apologist. I think Taylor Swift is great. I'm not saying that I don't think she's worked hard. I don't use the term deserved or earned when I'm talking about movie stars or
Like
pop stars.
fame,
Because fame isn't deserved or earned. It's something that's like a huge gift.
There's
that
a
you
skill,
get.
but there's some skill. There's definitely some people I can think of that like skill wise. I'm like, dude, they've put in that work, and I think they 100% deserve that. And I think you've acknowledged that, especially with Eminem.
Yeah.
Here's a bit of my issue with that.
Taylor Swift is one of
with
those
that
people.
though, is that some of the most talented, like musicians, singers, are like studio musicians.
Oh my gosh! Literally, I was just talking with Sammy,
Yes.
and he like showed like literally the band for the Grammys shows up an hour or two before the music gets put in front of them, and they play it flawlessly.
Yeah,
flawlessly.
because
Sight
it's
read,
what they do.
and it's like insane.
Yeah,
Well, that's also like, yeah, it's also like, that's one of the things that I think, I don't know if deserved or earned is the right word, but like Taylor Swift she writes lyrics that connect to so many people,
Yeah.
not just women, but so many people.
connected with me since I was 16.
Okay.
And
Don't be gross.
no matter how good of a dude, like I know studio musicians, and studio musicians don't have to be emotionally intelligent or artistic. You can just learn how to read the sheet music and play it right, like
Practice
a robot.
for
and you don't
hours.
Have to, yeah, but you don't have to be an artist. Like you don't have to have the part of your brain that knows how to make something like that people perceive as beautiful and connect to. You don't have to have that to be a great studio musician at all.
That's a great point. That is something that at the Yakima's Got Talent that I was knocked out before the finals. I'm not bitter. I'm not bitter about it.
Sound a little bitter.
But like you had a band that played covers and they were fun. It was a normal like
Yeah, it was
rockabilly
fun.
sort of like band. But I'm like, I had to write my stand up, right?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your covers.
The amount
Nobody
of
cares.
creativity that goes into compared to a cover. Yes, you can sing or you can play a guitar or whatever, but like I think the creativity factor of actually creating something does. Now, that's not to say there's probably a lot of studio musicians that also can create and are really good.
Yeah, that happens too, because they'll write something and then they'll not write something, they'll play it and they're like, okay, let's do another take.
Try something else.
Do something else, and
Was
then you get that a lot.
I think it was like
I'm not
Pharrell.
trying to-
Pharrell was like
he's
producer
insane.
or like for like 15 years and nobody knew who Pharrell was. Everybody in the pop music industry,
Industry.
Yeah.
knew who Pharrell was because you're like, oh, he's produced how many different albums?
Yeah, and how many different artists?
And then he was like, I'm going to try and do this like happy song. And I'm like, okay, great. I don't think happy is like, but it was on Despicable Me. So he's now a billionaire.
Huge, yeah.
And he also, if you remember, he had to like give himself gimmicks for people to remember him.
Yeah.
Do you remember he had to wear that stupid giant hat every time he went out in public?
You're thinking
You think
of
he
the
liked
Mad
that hat
Hatter.
that much?
No, you're not.
That's a common
It's
mistake.
a common
I would
misconception.
love for
again also
Pharrell to play
conventionally
Mad Hatter.
handsome young man. What'd
So-
you say?
I would love for Pharrell to be the Mad Hatter in Robert Pattinson's Batman movie.
I was like, where are we going with this? I forgot about that hat.
Yeah.
That's
Here's
interesting. Here's something that I think is a better measurement of quality.
Mm-hmm.
Not flash in the pan success, but sustainability.
Okay.
And it's tough because I think that it takes probably 10 or 15 years for us to see it. And I think legitimately, so like I have a soft spot for Tim McGraw.
You have a lot of stuff.
And for Tim McGraw, but Taylor Swift's Tim McGraw, Teardrops on My Guitar. Those are songs that you don't really hear on the radio anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you hear Red, like songs from Red. That was what, 2012? And I think you're going to hear songs from Lover, Evermore, and Folklore. I think you're going to hear songs from those albums for a really long time. I've only listened to 5 or 6 songs as well. And there's a couple songs on T Swift's new album that I'm like, all right, this is pretty good. There's nothing that like jumped out to me in the first 5 or 6 that are like overly catchy. And there could be some, when you put out 40 songs, maybe 2 or 3 are going to stick around. But I'm curious. I really believe wholeheartedly that there's like 8 or 9 songs off of those 3 albums that I just listed that are going to be around when I'm 50 years old, still on pop stations. I don't.
Or in movies.
And in
That's
movies.
what happens when songs get recycled, like Stevie Nicks songs. Now you don't hear them. Anyway, you will hear Stevie Nicks songs more often, like in a soundtrack.
Totally.
Like, oh, I forgot about this song. This song is amazing.
Totally. Well, that like, dude, that was like the Guardians franchise.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, this music is incredible. You're like, you just had to put it to Chris Pratt lip syncing.
I was so disappointed with that they had to go like 2000s and Guardians 3.
I don't mind that. I think it's full circle.
I still think that they picked.
It is.
They picked the proper. Okay, this is getting off subject a little bit, but it's something that I'm thinking about. When I was a kid, let's say 1998, the classic rock station was playing 1978 music, right? 20 years, 70s and even 80s, right? That was classic rock.
I'm gonna hear you out before I answer.
The classic rock station still is playing 70s and 80s, right? That's and that's what that's what I love. I'm still here for it. But when I was 8 years old, 20 years ago was 1978, right? Like, you know, they're playing Led Zeppelin because they released something in the 70s. The classic rock station still, if you were going just strictly off of timelines,
Right.
The classic rock station today should be Nickelback.
Yeah.
Right? Like you should have 99.3 The Hawk is, or 105.7 The Hawk is supposed to be playing.
Yeah. We all doesn't want to be big rock stars.
Maybe some Uba Stink. You know, I don't know, man. Now I will say they've
Goo Goo Dolls.
They've pushed it a little bit.
Don't want the world to see me.
They've pushed it a little bit. You now have like Pearl Jam and stuff and Foo Fighters, but they don't do anything from the late 90s or early 2000s, although the timeline matches up.
Yeah.
Be careful here, Darius. My mother just walked into Northtown.
Oh.
So you better be careful. All right. So I found the list. So
What list?
convenience, accessibility, and ease. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, the opposite of that, strength, skill, practice, and participation. Sure, like her lyrics connect. Oh, it connects to blah, blah, blah. But she's not.
No. She's looking in the window right now.
I can't speak to whatever the past couple albums of it. I have not listened to them, so I'm not going to say. She's had her big songs, and they were fun, and I enjoyed them. Like, I listened to them on the radio. I didn't hate them.
I really enjoy the song Ivy. It's stuck in my head.
Yeah. But when it comes to this, she reached this, like, point where she could just really just, like, have the most easily accessible music possible because she didn't really need to try that hard. And I know you're going to say, well, actually, if you listen to the lyrics and actually if you listen, it talks about this relationship and this one. No one really cares. No one really cares much.
Why do you have to do an impression?
I was going to say, man,
no one cares
personal.
that much about when you listen to it, it's the most.
That sounds so stupid.
Everybody cares a lot about it.
No,
I'm just kidding. Keep going.
And you don't need to try that hard. You can the point of like the reason I think it was produced the way it was produced because it's so vanilla. It is so easily digestible that people don't have to try very hard to really let it sink in. You let so many things sink in so deep into your soul always. It just gets in there. Most people, they don't need that. They could just turn it on and it could just be the tone. And then just like a simple piano melody. Like that's all it is. That's all they need and that's all they want. And that that's why billions of dollars. She has billions of dollars. She doesn't need that much, okay? And I know you can appreciate it too. Like music and songwriting that like you have to like listen to and really like let it like lyrically like sink into you and like compare it to your past experiences. And I know you're gonna say, well, but there's these women compared to all their past experiences too. Blah blah blah. It's Gosh.
No, keep going.
The great news about this is I'm obviously not mad, but the fact that Ben is so upset and worked up about this proves that I'm right and he's wrong. So
you don't have to. You don't have to put that much effort into letting that music sink into you. It's literally hurt people, and they're like, oh yeah, that is right. Hurt people. I
think that that's fair, but I don't think that strictly means that it's not quality though. Not everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel.
So is it when I hear that, I think it's like technically it is mastered very well. It is mixed very well. It sounds very well. It is made very well.
You know what I don't listen to? Beethoven. I don't like put classical music on. I'm like, man, I want to jam out to this. Is Beethoven and Mozart good? Maybe. No, I'm just kidding. They're like,
I don't think it's that hard to like technically get a good sounding record, but I know that's
so you're
not
just saying. Is your point that Taylor Swift's music in general?
Nope, not in general. This last album.
Oh, this last album that you listened to, that you think Tortured Poets Apartment is just not standout music or lyricism.
I do like the idea.
Yes, 100%. I don't think that she needed to try.
Yeah.
That.
What if it's a double meaning?
What?
And she purposely put in shallow, bad lyrics. And every poet that listens to it is tortured. She goes, "This is the Tortured Poet album." she's laughing,
just torturing poets.
What is this lyrics?
Taylor's counting her money in her room, cackling. Travis, come, let me wipe your tears with this $500 pack of bills.
I think real music takes. Like skill to make.
Hold on. I don't understand what you mean by real music. Why? Okay, what does that mean?
That's not a good. Okay, I think quality music takes skill to write.
Is Sweet Home Alabama quality music?
Absolutely. Don't you get me started.
Yes.
I'm just asking. Is it quality music?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't take that much skill to write that song at all. It's one of the most simple songs ever written.
DCG, baby.
Really well.
No, it doesn't. I played it I could play like the whole song when I was 13. It doesn't take that much skill to write or play that music. It is just a good song that really connects with people. So quality music, you have to put, if you're going to get like that specific, you've got to put very specific parameters, and I don't think you're going to get to a point where you can put a skill level or a difficulty level directly connected to the word quality, because there's always going to be some things that are really good and they're not hard to play and they weren't hard to write.
I think that it's tough.
That doesn't mean that Taylor Swift's new album is great. It's probably my least favorite of all of her albums. Is her latest album.
You're right. I'm really harking on the freaking skill level of it. Also, the door is halfway open, and I've been screaming.
That's okay.
Ben,
fine.
I'll just say, and I don't mean this to sound condescending, I swear, but when I was your age, I felt the exact same way about music. And Jesse can attest to the fact that I used to like rip on everybody if there weren't like I would never say anything was good enough unless it was like they were virtuosic in skill. And I think that that's admirable.
Lips of Dover
like,
or nothing.
Yeah, like it's either somebody's like an absolute Mozart in some way, or they're nothing and they're just a waste of space.
I would say this: the music and art is so subjective, right? And I think that oftentimes something simple is very commercially successful. Like, and then real artists or people who are like really passionate about writing quality and complicated things and deep lyrics and doing all of the things right, and then they don't see the commercial success from it, or even just someone who enjoys not simple pop music. You're like, I think for rap artists, like outside of like Eminem and Kendrick, maybe there's like the rap artists that I enjoy that have the, like, to me, the sickest flow, and like they're all like super wordy. I'm like, this is incredible, but it's not ever gonna be on the rap station, right? Like, but
I love Kendrick, but I don't think there's a song from his latest album that made it to the radio like some other.
But I think that so like getting played on the radio is something. I think you hear those things and you enjoy it. You're like, this is so good. How are they not successful? Or if you're making this stuff, I made a lot of sketch videos that I think are really funny, and I worked really hard to make those videos, and they got 12 views on YouTube, and someone's caught their cat going into a cereal box, and it's billion views. And
people will ask me like, why were you not ever into YouTube? And that really is the reason.
Or like reaction videos where they go,
we were making funny videos before YouTube, and then YouTube happened and everybody was like, you got to watch this. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And it's two dudes lip syncing to Wanna Be by the Spice Girls. And I'm like, me and Jesse wrote a video, framed out camera shots. We sacrificed our bodies falling on our necks to make like a scene look good. On YouTube, it gets 20 views.
Nothing. Nothing.
So I hated YouTube.
I think that that's a factor, man. I think that there's some jealousy, whether it's personal or.
Are you saying that I'm jealous?
No. Jealousy, personal, or like you're like jealous for the people that you're like they deserve to be famous. But they deserve for everybody to know their name.
And I realize like the artists that I listen to, like Tyler, the creator, not a lot of people can connect with him. And then, but also they get turned off by his, like, he's got a very distinct personality and like music, like writing and his production. Like it's very, very him. And so that takes it out of like, there's a denominator, the common denominator. Like he's not anywhere near that.
We're gonna kind of end. Well, Darius, you say your thing really quick.
No, I was just gonna say, to be super fair, and to your point, Ben, like, is Taylor Swift a good musician? Yeah. Is she the most spectacular at anything musically ever? No. There's not a single thing that she does musically, songwriting or otherwise, that I think she is like gonna stand the test of time as the best as.
I think it's funny to people like compare her to like Michael Jackson. Probably like 5 years ago they were, because of the amount of records that she sold, right? And like kind of who she is in pop music. I think we can all agree that Michael Jackson is a better singer, dancer. Like he checks all of the boxes.
Yeah,
more so.
Performer.
He's a more talented performer.
I've never seen her perform, so I can't.
To be to your point, I do think a lot of what she's done is market herself really well.
Well,
I just don't want. It's not fair to hate on her music because she's marketed herself well. She's not the best musician ever. She's just much, much, much better at marketing.
But I will say, here's my final point here. There's a bit of a threefold. One, commercial success oftentimes, although it is simple and easily accessible, it has to connect with somebody on a certain level. And that's why true. Art is very subjective, right? And I think even before T Swift made the had her cult-like fame, she was making music that connected with, people on a simple, and they're simple lyrics, but like they're about breakups, and 15-year-olds can relate to that. And so they're going to buy music. So you have to there is a certain level of connectability if you're going to sell a billion copies. So
Okay. Yeah.
also,
Yes.
when we're talking about quality of music, yes, there is that. You can say that this is more quality than this, whatever. Oftentimes, I will listen to the less quality because the more quality is Beethoven or like Cliffs of Dover. I'm like, it's a good song, but I'm not putting it on in my car. Like, I would rather
For those of you listening who don't like to listen to 80s guitar gods, it's an Eric Johnson song.
I would
by a
rather
guitar player named Eric
I would
Johnson.
rather listen to like Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me, and I'm not saying that that's like
Sure.
It gets me going, and that's what I like about it, right? And
I'm
Cliffs
literally
of
gonna
Dover,
listen
I'm
to
like,
Cliffs of Dover as
I'm
soon
like,
as we
this
get
is
off
a really cool like guitar. That's awesome. But now we're 8 minutes in, and I don't want to listen anymore.
It's so low.
I was just like harking on just skill level, and I think it's more than that because I do appreciate a fun turn your brain off pop song. I think it's been done better and also fun. When I hear 8 songs that all blend together to me, it makes me want to
Dude, I remember when we
rip my ears off.
We were on worship team,
Yeah.
and so it was, we would, pick worship leader would pick songs when Darius and I were 15, 16 years old, and they would pick 5 songs all in the same key. Thank you. And I remember Darius one time was like, hey, do you know that these are all in A? And the worship leader was like, I know, isn't that so cool? And he goes, oh, okay. like Darius wants to play something different. He was like, hey, let's like try and create something here. He goes, no, through line all the way. Now we can bounce to any chorus that we want.
Man,
Yeah.
It took me almost 15 years to realize that I just don't like playing music at church.
Yeah. So here's my last little point is getting paid is a forte. And I forget what song that is. Boom Diggity. It's that song. Getting paid is a forte.
No diggity.
No diggity. Boom diggity.
Boom diggity.
And it's a forte that I have not mastered yet. I think that kind of regardless of your quality, there's a skill there that is like really hard to master. And whether the music is quality or not, like T Swift and a lot of the other commercially successful people, they've figured out how to get paid. And that's why I think we have a decent podcast here. I think I write decent books, but that's why I've sold maybe 50 copies of my books, and we have 50 listeners on this podcast. And you listen to other things, and it's terrible. You're like, what is happening here? I just read a book. I was
going to suggest like, because you said sustainability, and that's our goal for this podcast. Just do it long enough that someone will listen.
just be around long enough.
Not quality. This is not a quality podcast.
No,
we
man.
never said it was.
I just read
But
a
we're just
book.
going to do it long enough so you have to listen to it.
I just read a book that's consistently in the top 10 on the horror comedy, like Amazon Self Pub. And I'm like, it has some funny parts, and I don't like, but
It's not great.
it's not great. It has like over 2,000 reviews on Amazon. And I'm like, this is obviously self-published, not because there's spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. The writing's just not great. The story's not overly very cookie cutter.
And
Not
it's very
amazing.
likely that the person who self-published it has either a large following online or is well connected in some other way, or even though they self-published, has paid a lot of money out of pocket to get it in front of people.
To get it. Yeah. The New York Times
That's the most likely
bestsellers like
scenario.
get New York Times. Yeah, they like have people. This is Ben's mother.
Hello.
Ben's mother. This is
It's
Darius.
so nice to meet you.
Hi,
I am
Darius.
your biggest fan.
That is not what he said earlier.
Mrs. Salazar, look, I only talk every
biggest
week. I ask, when can you come on the podcast? I love you so much. You raised the most beautiful baby boy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Boy, this was. The text messages were much more heated.
I wanted you to be mean to him.
I cannot be
You
mean.
that means
You
you're
can be mean to me.
the sweetest
Most
lady.
people that know me are mean to me. You could just say something really mean to me. It wouldn't hurt my feelings.
Talk about
The listeners would love it.
No, they won't. They would not want me to be mean.
that's
That's a threat.
She's like, they don't want
you
to
don't
hear
want to
the
see
way
her.
you don't want to see that.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
As soon as she walks off screen here, she's gonna show up in Darius's screen somehow in Enum Claw. Just stab you right in the throat.
I know you can't tell, but I am so embarrassed right now. I am so embarrassed and so nervous right now.
Why?
Well, because Ben told me that you were mad at me, and now I'm afraid that you hate me.
I do not hate you. It's just because I was wondering why you were.
There it is. That's there.
I was like, why are they picking on you, mijo? That's not.
Oh, me.
So that is why.
I'm so sorry for picking on Ben. I
Boy,
love Ben.
you're not
We
gonna want to
probably
listen
were-
to this episode though. Darius was really letting into it.
So not true.
It's not true.
Ben did the meanest.
And Ben, I was gonna say Ben reversed it on this one.
Well, because I was using you as a human shield because I was like, my mom's here. You better not say anything. So I was just saying I was being really mean to him because I knew that you were here, so you could defend me.
Yes, that's what mothers do.
Yes, also.
Yes, you're a good mom.
This is amazing.
We only pick on Ben. I only pick on Ben
Every episode.
because I like him. Every episode is that what you just
Yeah.
said?
I think this is a great way to end the pod.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Like, subscribe, and if you want more updates, maybe Darius will be here next week. We don't know. He might
Probably
be.
not.
He might be murdered by a mother's love. Yeah. We'll see you guys next week.
Say bye, mom.
Bye.